So, I made a car. So I've added a piece to help me do this, a splitter. So it's got an input and two outputs. So you slot a module in there and you get two output modules, if you like, that mirror the settings, so name and minimum and maximum and value of the one in the input. So I've got these three set up. So there's one input that comes from the joystick, and that has two output blocks. Each one of those two output blocks goes into another splitter, and that gives me 4 output blocks. And I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4 in those wheels. And the other axis on the joystick goes into this splitter. That gives me 2 outputs, which I've put into the Tony Wernies in the tops of the Tony Werners. It's a bit janky, but it all comes together. So they'll clip in, and now I can steer this mofo with this joystick. It's a bit wibbly wobbly and very slow, but it does the job. It's pretty cool. Stop. Go. So it's fiddly as hell to assemble because I've got no depth perception, so it's hard to get these little blocks lined up with their slots. But assuming that in VR that'll all be much simpler because you'll have depth perception and grabberizers so you can accurately move stuff around. Obviously it'll move a bit faster. But yeah, so you could do all sorts of fun things with just these. I am planning on adding some sort of primitive system, so you can, if you wanted to have the two wheels turn together on a T-bar, I don't know the proper word, like a front axle, then you could, and just have one turning Werner in the middle. That could work. But yeah, I need to work out some way of doing primitives that is relatively generalizable. Maybe just literally a primitive object, a set of objects like a primitive cube, sphere, cylinder, bonk, that the player can stretch and squeeze and move around and whatnot. So you can do a bit more custom stuff. Okay, well that demonstrates what I'm trying to do with linky uppy module-y stuff. So next up will be mounting the cockpit on top of that. So this is the player's. The size of this cockpit will reflect the size of the player's space they have available, and so all this logical circuitry stuff, I imagine the best place for it would be against the back face of the cockpit. You don't really need to look at it, and all your controls would be mounted on posts popping up in the middle here. And there'll be a cockpit, glass cockpit over the front, so you can't fall out. That's the way I see it working. I really wanted to do legs, like massive MechWarrior style legs that protrude from the bottom of the cockpit. But legs are hard to animate, and I can't animate worth a damn. So I don't know. Maybe that'll be something to look at further on down the road. Why is that hovering? Is there something under it? No, I don't know. In any case, probably because the ground colliders, they're not the same as the mesh. In any case, that outlines the starter configuration of stuff you could do. I do want to have an arm that you can bolt onto the side that extends down, has an elbow, and then a forearm that comes out that has flat surfaces on the top, bottom, left, and right to which you can attach weapons. And so where are we? So there's a 1-axis, just a throttle. That's a 2-axis, left and right, up and down. So I'm planning to add another type of controller that is a vector controller that gives you X, Y, Z. And you can use that, you can attach that to the arms, and that'll let you point the forearm of the arm at a given point in space, or along a given vector. And so the player would be looking out the window and they'd reach over to the right or the left and grab that arm's controller, or wherever they want to put it, hanging from the roof maybe. Grab that arm's controller and point the motion controller, the Vive Mote, at along a given vector, and the arm mounted on the side of their mech would mirror that vector as much as possible. That way you can shoot stuff, which can be fun. The other things I want to add is power requirements, like having some sort of power engine that you have to run, cooling for that generator or that reactor, and ammunition for the weapons, and armor. So you'd have to pay careful attention to where you put your ammo and make sure it's armored and make sure it can feed the weapons and so on and so forth. I'm not planning on having any sort of conduiting for power. I think if you have enough power available just somewhere, then it assumes that it can transmit the energy around. I'm not going to make it all fiddly, this thing powers this thing. It's just going to be one pool of power for the whole thing. Likewise with cooling, I think you just have one heat bar that goes up when you shoot, or have an overheating reactor and then goes down over time as your cooling subtracts the power away. Subtracts the heat away. Heat, power, same thing. Okay, bye bye.